Every year we're hitting the reset button and giving you our most transparent assessment of what it's like to live here in New Braunfels, because every year there's a few new wrinkles to living in New Braunfels. So today, my updated pros and cons about what it's like to live in New Braunfels so you can make a more informed, educated decision about maybe the biggest move of your life if you plan on moving to New Braunfels. If you are new here to my channel, thank you so much for hopping aboard, because every week we're putting out timely, relevant information just like this about what it's like to live in New Braunfels. I'm going to tell you that my pros of living in New Braunfels far outweigh my cons of living in New Braunfels by a 2-to-1 margin, because at its core, New Braunfels is still pro. Let's get to my first pro of living in New Braunfels. It's at the top of my list, and it's at the top of other people's lists.
The people are more friendly. It's not that people aren't friendly in Austin. It's just that they're so fast-paced and so focused on what they want to do, they don't slow down to be friendly. But here, people move at a slower pace. They're more present in the moment, and they're more friendly, which is crazy because they're so close to each other. But the people are different. They're just more friendly here.
Been here 6 months?
No, 2 months.
2 months. Oh, 2 months. March, April, yeah, February.
Yeah.
And this is the people are super friendly.
They open doors for my wife. They say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. It's fantastic.
There you go. You heard it for yourself. My number one pro of living in New Braunfels, the people. The people to me in New Braunfels are so down to earth, so friendly, so courteous, so trusting. You can be at the park as I have, or in the neighborhoods as I have, and people are waving at you without being prompted. And more often than not, if you're on the road, as I've experienced, people are giving you the right of way. So my number one pro of living in New Braunfels, definitely the people. Another pro of living in New Braunfels is location. New Braunfels is located between two large cities, Austin and San Antonio, and their airports. So if you need to catch a flight, a concert, or hit some different restaurants or stores or an event, New Braunfels is about 25 minutes to San Antonio and about 45 minutes to Austin. New Braunfels is also not too far from hill country favorites Bernie and Fredericksburg. This next one is a big pro of living in New Braunfels. New Braunfels is very family friendly. Strong public and private schools in New Braunfels, and a supportive school community as well, supporting growth. New Braunfels has family-friendly year-round events, including parades throughout the year, Wurstfest, Christmas tree lighting, the county fair. There's an event going on at the convention center seemingly every week. There's the farmers market, Pioneer Days. It's impossible to get bored in New Braunfels. In fact, the only con to being family-friendly in New Braunfels is that there's just not enough time to get through all these events and activities. And many of our events and activities take place at the heart of New Braunfels, which oozes our next pro of living in New Braunfels, our charm and history. I've said this a million times. New Braunfels is like living in a Hallmark Channel movie because of our well-preserved historical buildings, our historical traffic circle and bandstand. Life definitely slows down in downtown New Braunfels and in our historical district of Green. Both areas are dotted with hyper-local mom-and-pop businesses, free of corporations and franchises. It's like stepping back in time. It really is. The soundtrack to all these different areas is our live music scene, which is another pro of living in New Braunfels, whether it's indoor music or outdoor music, whether it's musicians trying to make a name for themselves, all the way up to the legends. Live music is a pro of living in New Braunfels. Our ultra active outdoor lifestyle and city amenities remain a pro of living in New Braunfels. Our award-winning parks, Landa Park, Fisher Park, the two largest parks in New Braunfels, and new parks are coming aboard soon, including a sports park, a 130-acre park, which will at build out be the largest park in New Braunfels, and a park and trail with an observation tower coming. All of this is underway. But come on now, who are we kidding? The water, not the rainwater, but we could use more of it. The water is the star of New Braunfels. Our two recreational rivers, the Comel River, the Guadalupe River, our popular world famous water park Schlitterbahn and its new kids water park area, Canyon Lake, and all of its recreational fun is not too far from New Braunfels, 20-25 minutes. Lake Dunlap, there's also Lake McQueenie, lots. This is a water world in New Braunfels. It's hard to miss this next pro of living in New Braunfels, the views. New Braunfels is the doorstep to hill country, so you're going to get some wide open looks, often breathtaking something you'd see on a postcard. We're able to enjoy the views, the activities, and the events, and all the outdoor living in New Braunfels because of the next pro of living in New Braunfels, the weather. We average in the 90s during the summer and in the 60s during the winter months. Those are averages, meaning temps can, and very often do, rise higher or lower. And for a few days out of the year, we get that blanket, fireplace, chilly cooking type weather, but nothing lingers for long. I will tell you, it is nice to walk outside in November, December, January, and February in shorts and a t-shirt. It's nice. The weather in New Braunfels is also a con of living in New Braunfels. We get triple digit summers that linger into September, and we don't really see a noticeable cool down until October if you consider mid to high 80s a cool down. Nobody, I'm telling you, nobody, even the natives don't get used to the heat in New Braunfels. It's typically humid early morning, like in the 80s and 90s, but when the sun comes up, the humidity goes down into the 30s and 40s. The hottest part of the day easily between 1 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe I should say this next line more often because it's acting as a rain dance right now, but New Braunfels sees very little rainfall. I mean, we're not the wetlands in New Braunfels. Now, we started seeing more rain, and you're hearing it and seeing it today, the last several months after 3 years of very little rain and bone dry drought conditions, which impacted our river and lake levels, caused burn bans at our parks, and triggered water restrictions for homeowners. Restrictions have loosened up the last several months because of our above average rainfall in New Braunfels. We're back to watering grass once a week by irrigation or sprinkler, and we can barbecue again at our parks. We've had rain, but we need a lot more of it. I'll just keep saying we get very little rainfall, and maybe we'll get more rain. Rain or shine, New Braunfels is a great place to dine. Food is a pro of living in New Braunfels. You'll get some of the best barbecue, brisket, ribs, steaks, breakfast tacos, Mexican food in New Braunfels. And New Braunfels, of course, was founded by a German prince, so of course we have some awesome, authentic German food. Food is also a con of living in New Braunfels because if you're not a fan of these New Braunfels and Texas staples, lots of meat, you're SOL. New Braunfels just doesn't have the food selection like Austin or San Antonio. Now, maybe that changes with the changing demographics in New Braunfels. Still too early to tell. The lack of food diversity in New Braunfels is not stopping people from moving here. You can look at New Braunfels' explosive growth as a pro because more people like New Braunfels, and growth brings more regional and national commercial development to the area. You can also look at New Braunfels' population burst as a con of living in New Braunfels. New Braunfels has gained 20,000 new residents in just 3 years, mostly during the pandemic, but still you add 20,000 new residents in a short time, and it's going to take infrastructure a while to catch up, which means increased traffic and crowds. You have to get to the grocery store earlier just to avoid the crowds. Same thing with our parks. Good luck finding a picnic spot if you come midday. More traffic, longer commute times, but the city of New Braunfels did pass a bond in 2023 to help improve transportation by adding more lanes. The next pro of living in New Braunfels, I've always called the game changer because you don't have to travel to Austin or San Antonio to do this. The next pro of living in New Braunfels is shopping. Specifically big box stores and specialty shops at our town center, Creekside, Target, JCPenney's, Dick's Sporting Goods, PetSmart, Belk's, just to name a few, restaurants. Creekside is a popular place for our next pro of living in New Braunfels, tourists. And yes, tourists. And tourism is a pro of living in New Braunfels because it impacts the local economy year-round. According to annual reports by the New Braunfels Chamber of Commerce, the economic impact that tourism has on New Braunfels and Comal County is hundreds of millions of dollars year-round. That's a chunk. I mean, I came this close to calling tourism and tourists a con of living in New Braunfels, but how could you? When they're such a lifeline for the area, they're pushing that kind of money across the table. You can only see that as a pro because we have many hyper-local businesses that rely on those dollars year-round every year. Hey, I'm not painting a complete rosy picture here because it's not. Traffic does swell, it does increase during peak tourism season. But again, tourists are the lifeline of New Braunfels. What are we? Think about this. What are we without tourists? Go back. What are we without water or rivers or lakes? What are we? New Braunfels is a resort. It's a destination town. And because that, we have a lot of lower paying service jobs. However, the challenge is for the city and the chamber to recruit, and which is what they're doing right now, recruit higher paying jobs to the area so the city can have more of its working residents stay in New Braunfels to work instead of commuting outside of the city for work. For the first time, I'm adding this next one to the list of cons of living in New Braunfels because it's hit me really hard the last 2 years. It hits people hard every year in New Braunfels. The con of living in New Braunfels is allergy season. January through May is the worst. That's when the pollen from the cedar trees takes flight, and look out, can shut you down for a few weeks, if not longer. In my case, it's congestion, it's the thinning voice, it's the sneezing. I mean, it hits me so hard. I think I have COVID and I have to go to urgent care to see if I have COVID. Fortunately, I test negative. They say it's just allergies, but still, it hits me hard and I have to tough it out because I don't take medicine. And there you go, my updated list of pros and cons of living in New Braunfels. Does this help you out if you're thinking about moving to New Braunfels? If you already live here, what are your pros and cons of living in New Braunfels? And if you're thinking about moving to New Braunfels, of course, I'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can email me, you can call me, or you can shoot me a text. As always, thank you so much for watching our videos, and we'll see you on the next one. And I'm gonna say we get very little rain in New Braunfels so we can see more rain in New Braunfels. We'll see you guys on the next one.